every business is more technology oriented than it used to be in the past. So investing into technology is definitely the only option. Unless you get fully conversant with AI and get your team to also be educated in AI, there's no escape. I think that doesn't have any difference whether it is US or UK or Australia. Everybody is now clearly on board. Yeah, so basically, I'm an electronics engineer by profession, and I've done some software in my engineering days. But the first job that I got was in Air Force as a short service commissioned officer, which is a 6-year term, and I was put into the missiles and radar stream. So primarily, the job was to do testing of Russian missiles, the surface-to-air missiles, which are kind of 25 kilometer range, and the job was to do the testing of the missiles, the electronics, the radio, all of that, plus the explosives, everything. Every 6 months, we got to test them and keep them war ready. It was a job. So when I finished my Air Force tenure, I was actually interviewed by a Canadian guy who was based in Dubai to do software testing, because the Y2K days. I left Air Force by '98, and then I was working in this software company, just getting many telecom companies in the Middle East as well as banks to be Y2K ready. So that is how I got into the testing job.
Okay.
And once a couple of years, by 2000, when everything was okay, I was picked up by a Middle East investor to set up an IT company in India, because SEZ norms and the ST3 norms were coming in those days, and tax holidays for IT companies was a big thing. So he said, let's go set up an IT company in India. That is how I shifted from Dubai in 2000 to come to Technopark. So we came to Technopark, found that a lot of companies were kind of setting up shop and so on. So we also set up a shop. So I set it up for him from about 0 to about 105 people. Took about 5 years to build a product. So I was doing the sales, I was doing the product, envisioning the product and getting people to do the product. And that's how it all happened. And by about 2005, I shifted to IBS. I don't know if you heard about IBS. Yeah, so 2005, I joined IBS to head 4 of their product lines. And that's when I started the international sales journey. Moved into selling in the US, UK, Australia, all these regions for 4 product lines which I was interested in IBS. That's how it all happened. And then by 2008, that is when the current IBS colleagues that I had, who are also co-founders in Experion, and there is the CTO of the company comes from Nest, which was Nest. Today it is Quest. So we started the journey in 2008. Building a small startup which was originally from Europe. So the company today, Experion, is actually originated in Europe between 2 founders between Switzerland and Germany. So I was called in to take over the operations and scale it up from the 10-member team that it was in 2008. Today we are about 1,800 between 3 locations in India, Trivandrum, Cochin, and Bangalore. And then we started scaling the operations in the US. 2010, Manoj, who's the current co-founder, he took it on in Texas and started growing it there. I started traveling to UK and Europe and started winning businesses, and that's how the whole journey started. It was very tough. 2008 is the financial crisis, and prime lending crisis actually had affected 2 of our customers from Switzerland. So every business that we had in 2008, 2009, went off. It wasn't there. So we had to start it ground up, because those days mobile technology was coming strong. So we started working on mobile technology, innovation, and so on. And that's how we started winning projects across Europe and obviously in the US. And US became the bigger market, obviously. And Australia started in 2012. But UK was the first major customer that we had. So we had, if you know UK, the National Highways UK, or most of the road networks in the UK, there was this company called Transport Research Laboratory, which used to work with many transportation projects across the UK. So they became the first customer for Experion in 2009, 2010. And that's how we started projects from UK. While US was being built, we already had UK projects started those days. And obviously many from Europe as well, because Europe was a major base for us pre-Experion, while the founders came from Europe. So when we started, we thought we should have a differentiation between typical IT services companies, and the founders came with a lot of experience in product engineering. So product engineering is a little different from the typical services which many companies do. What they do mostly is bring in technology resources and staff up projects for most of the customers that they sell into. Like for example, if you look at GE or GM or those kind of companies, the big IT companies would probably staff up hundreds or thousands of people into projects. That's what they generally do. But what we do differently is we build products, or we build IP, intellectual property, for customers. Like, for example, if you want to take a simple example, what do you call product? Products, ERPs are products, right? Like SAP, these are big products, but there are small products. So there are Uber has got apps, it's got a backend. So all these are products which are where the IP is what helps the customers to make money by repeat sales. So we build IP because there is a different way of building products. The life cycle of building products is different. So that's what we do. While we get into a project, we understand the requirements, understand the market, and understand the repeatability of sale and so on and so forth. And and there is a whole lot of process that are required to conceive products differently, because it is not one time used by one customer. It's a repeat used by many customers in many different scenarios. So that is the difference when we build products. Like, for example, in the UK, if you look at the road networks, then the motorways, we call them the M1 to M40 or M41, all these are motorways which are connecting different cities in the UK. So the software that does the maintenance management for the National Highways UK was built by Experion about 5 years back, but the project was entrusted to us by a company, the same company, the TRL, the Transport Research Laboratory, which was a government company. And this company is very interesting. They are the ones who brought many innovations. The reflectors on the roads or the zebra crossings, the paint that is used to paint the zebra crossings, all these were invented by TRL. And TRL was set up about 95 years back by the government of UK. Apparently, Queen Elizabeth was on the board of this company. So they bring out many innovations in the road engineering or transport technologies. So they had a lot of software as well. While they brought all these reflectors and signages and all of that, and roundabouts, all these were invented by TRL. They had software to do crash data analysis. They had software to do road design. They had software to do roundabouts. All these were there. They do traffic engineering. For example, the traffic lights that you see in Delhi, for example, is a TRL product. The dynamic switching of traffic lights, if you have bigger roads, it will open up green for a longer time, and smaller roads will have a lesser time. So all that helps in making traffic congestions lower. So that all those technologies were invented by TRL, and we had the opportunity first in 2000. It was in 2009-10 when they said, we've got a very old technology crash data system. Can you come and re-engineer it with the software knowledge that you have? So that is how we started. And they had this product installed in about 300 locations around the world. So this was the first product that we got to re-engineer from old technology to new generation web and cloud technologies. So that was a start in 2009. But when they found that we could do this and we built it, they could start winning a lot of customers around the world. So Abu Dhabi was the first customer that they got after we re-engineered, and that was a big win for them, because they used to sell it very cheap, mostly as research projects or so on, or academic projects, or supporting governments to bring safety to the road networks. But when we did this, Abu Dhabi, they reported big savings in road accidents. So about 20-25% savings or reduction in road accidents happened, because what you're doing is you're trying to analyze road accidents and bring engineering improvements to the roads. So that is what this project was doing, or product was doing. And so Abu Dhabi was the first customer, then Ghana, Oman, Kuwait, Qatar, Dubai, all these transportation departments took this project from TRL or product from TRL, and we were associated with every such project implementation. So I think that is the beginning of how we could kind of work with TRL. And today it is a 15 years old relationship in the UK, with TRL. That is a very interesting question. So the first biggest decision was, in 2000, I think it was in 2010, when we were working on this project with TRL. We thought it was a very small project. You can imagine we were just about, I think, 30, 40 or 50 member team when we started with this project. And then while we started executing it, in about 18 months, rather 15 months, this project was not ending. And we signed up for a very small fee. And we could not really, obviously the financial crisis led us to losing customers in Europe. And this was the only project that was a major project. And we had to invest into doing this project. And at the end of 15th month, the CTO who was actually heading this project said, we have burned too much money. About 21 people have been working on this project for about 15 months. All we are getting is only about 50,000 pounds, which is nothing compared to the cost that we are burning. So let us stop this project. I think with the financial crisis and with all this difficulties in executing this project, he felt that it is not possible for us to continue. So he said, let's close down the business, go back to our jobs, So I said, give me 3 more months. So we are trying to sort of win this Abu Dhabi project, because bid was going on. There was a bid going on, and I was hopeful that we will win this, because we were building the iPad version. We were trying to build the mobile version. A lot of different technology components are coming in. So that obviously ended in a good note. And 18th month, we won the project, and that project was £1 million. So imagine 50,000 versus £1 million. So that was a major beginning. Obviously, the £1 million did not come to us fully. TRL was the major beneficiary, but we had about £400,000, which is still big for us. So that helped us sustain a longer term. And then subsequently, the many projects that followed after that kept us going. So we could take some risks and then continue to invest in US to get more projects. We could go along and win projects from Australia and so on. So I think that major decision was to stay in business 3 years from starting the business, because we were all set to kind of fail. Obviously, then the other decision was to shift into product engineering, because when every company was doing services of giving staffing services, we decided that we'll do full cycle product engineering work and become completely different from typical IT companies. So that was another key decision. The other major decision was to switch from smaller IT customers or IT or ISVs to big enterprises in 2019. 2019, see, we would have been about 500 people by 2019. Then we decided that we'll start focusing on large customers, because we are still about 500 people, 500 to about 600 engineers. How do you go and talk to the big guys? Like, for example, Fiat Chrysler Group, TCS doing $500 million worth of work for them. How do you go and tell them, look, we are a small company, give us product engineering work? In fact, we started selling into them for about a full year. We started doing sample projects to tell them how product engineering work is different from typical staffing which TCS is doing. So they understood the value when we started working on electric vehicle charging. For Stellantis, which is today the Fiat Chrysler Group is Stellantis now, which has got Peugeot, Citroen, Maserati, all these brands, Jeep, Chrysler, all of them are under the Stellantis Group. So they found that building products is different, because we could demonstrate to them that Tesla is winning more customers or is more popular because of the software that they have built. And the charging project that we did for Stellantis became a major excitement for them, because we could demonstrate to them many innovations in that project. And that's how they started awarding us project after 1 year of sales cycle with Stellantis. So today, if you look at it in the North America, Canada, all the EV charging platforms that are built for Stellantis, any new car that comes out of Stellantis stable, whether it is Fiat 500 or Citroen or Peugeot or the Maserati version of Stellantis, connecting into many charging networks, it is built by Experion, fully built out of India for the American market. And it is actually done better in terms of the app rating. In fact, it has actually come above the Tesla app, So, and it is solving something called the range anxiety. So when you start driving a car, an electric car, how do you know if you'll reach, let's say, 500-kilometer destination that you've actually set out to? And when do you have to charge in between? When do you have probably an opportunity to reach, change your batteries, because different cars have different type of batteries. So all those decisions are done on the app that we built for Stellantis cars. So, so what I was trying to say is the shift into the enterprise world is actually what helped us. And so there are a lot of different large enterprise projects that we are doing. For example, the National Highways UK is a major enterprise work. There's a big retailer in Australia with about 1,800 stores being run on their network. That's an enterprise product that we've done, re-engineered and transformed almost all of those customers that they have. Then if you can look at the smart electric meters across Australia and New Zealand. Again, it is built by Experion. About 2 million meters, smart meters are being monitored and managed by the service providers for and are also working with the regulators. All that is being done by the Experion team. If you look at insurance companies in the US, the big ones, you can see about the third biggest insurance company is actually using Experion to build their PNC insurance platform. Again, a big one. So many major enterprise customers have come on board after we decided to go enterprise in 2019, bringing in enterprise salespeople in the US, in the UK, in Australia, and all of that. And we also acquired a company in Japan. Again, made a foray into the enterprise world there. So you look at Kubota, Nippon Steel, all these are customers. Seiko watches are all these customers. Obviously, those were the benefit of going enterprise, and we could get into or scale the numbers from the 10 that we had in 2008 to the current 1,800 staff that we have. Yeah, so I think that is where the decision to remain in product engineering world helped us. See, because once you do a product, the customer stays with you for life, right? Because they generally want a product version release, let's say in 2025, 27, 29. All these newer versions should actually keep coming from the vendor who built it. So that is where the stickiness is much higher. Obviously, we have challenges as well because of AI, not just the geopolitics. AI is probably demanding that you can bring in lesser number of people to do the project. That challenge is always on us. So what we've done is we have decided to scale the sales by bringing in more salespeople. So we added a couple of salespeople in the US. We got 2 salespeople in the UK, added 1 more in Australia. So we're trying to balance and support growth by bringing in more projects. Though you might find that 20 to 30% of the workforce can shrink because of AI and because of difficulties in the market. With the innovation DNA and the product engineering story, we are trying to still win projects and sustain the growth.
So you said that it may shrink the workforce, but I know many professionals today fear that AI could replace larger sections of the workforce. As a founder's perspective, how should employees and young professionals prepare themselves for this change? What should they do?
Yeah. So you cannot really shy away from the influence of AI today. So I think the only job that the only thing that the engineers should do is they should get themselves updated on AI. So what we have done is we have actually done a massive scaling training program across the company. So everybody's given different levels of training in AI. We've got all the various tools that are required for AI. We have got right from ChatGPT or Gemini or Anthropic. All those tools are there, licensed and bought, and people are getting trained on that. The other thing is we have gotten a new life cycle process improvement with AI. So if you look at the software engineering life cycle, right from requirements definition to documenting the whole thing to preparing the flow diagram and everything from requirements phase to development to testing to release implementation, every cycle has got an AI angle to it. So there are different tools. So we are standardizing the various processes to do or bring in AI into the project so that customers benefit from the whole life cycle services that we deliver. But the other thing that we do is, since we are doing product engineering, we've also brought in an element of intelligent product into the whole life cycle, which means the domain intelligence of the customer. Say if you're working in retail or if you're working in financial services, the domain intelligence also has to be aided by AI, and that is where the real benefit comes. So the life cycle services have been completely customized or adapted to the AI world. So I think that is where we hope to benefit both from winning customers as well as helping engineers to do better. Yeah, that is pretty standard. If you look at different regions, America is probably the biggest in terms of buying technology, adopting and adapting to the changes with technology. So America, obviously, the business happens quicker, the volume is much bigger. Whereas if you look at markets like, the other extreme is Japan. Japan is very slow. They are very slow to adapting new technologies, changes. They have to be 100% sure that the failure isn't an option at all for them. So Japan is the other extreme. So we see that scaling Japan has been the slowest for Experion. After we bought the company in 2023, it's been very slow growth. Another extreme is Australia. Australia is, the ticket size is smaller, but the CTOs are sort of hands-on with technology. So you can't really think about the scale game there. You can't really think about having, let's say, 200, 300 people. For example, we've got the number one luxury motorcycle brand from US, which has got about 350 engineers working for them. You can't think about such a project in Australia. The biggest number you have is probably 20, 30, because the ticket size is smaller, the enterprises are smaller. The market itself is only about 25 million people. So you can't think about any such things in Australia. So you got to be very, very technical there. So the way we sell into Australia is a little different. You have a technical architect who continuously works with customers. You've got more on-site presence. America accepts a lot more offshore, than what you can think. You can have 100% offshore projects with people going and coming back. You don't require on-site. Obviously, for the larger projects like Stellantis, the motorcycle company that I was talking about, all these have people on-site in the US as well, but very low proportion. But in Japan, we've got 30 on-site staff. In Australia, we have similar to this. We have got solid on-site presence. In the UK too. UK is probably in between US and Australia. Obviously, they understand offshoring and so on. But you still require a good amount of on-site presence. And that's the reason we have scaled UK to have consultants. So we've got a financial domain consultant who's got 30 years of experience. We've got a data and AI consultant who actually set up the business for us in India, based out of UK. So he again is based in London. We've got a doctor on board who's again working in the healthcare world, again based out of Reading in the UK, in London. So we've got domain experts as well as we've got technology architects. For example, for the National Highways project, we've got people in Birmingham working with the National Highways Authority. They've got business analysts, technology architects, programmers, all of them in the UK as well. So I think the proportion of on-site presence is more in other markets compared to US. So that is what actually is the major difference between region. And you can clearly see those differences, in executing projects, in the profitability, in terms of starting a project. So for example, US, you can probably win even an enterprise customer if they're convinced in, let's say, 3 months to 6 months time. Whereas in Australia, it can take up to about a year. Same is the case in Japan. it can be very long sales cycles. We've been working with Nippon Steel for about a year to, get them on board. UK is again in between. Probably 6 months is a good time to win a major project. AI is talked everywhere. In fact, even some of the customers who are very hesitant to look at AI today are talking about, yeah, let's adopt AI, unlike in the past. So I think AI is there's no escape game. See, because the large language models are getting better every day. So and customers are clearly understanding the cost benefits and the time to market benefits for them. So unless you get fully conversant with AI and get your team to also be educated in AI, there's no escape. I think that doesn't have any difference whether it is US or UK or Australia. Everybody is now clearly on board, and companies are heavily marketing and selling the different AI options that they have. So I think the faster you get ready, the better it is. Otherwise, it's very likely that you can lose business to local markets. So that's another interesting dimension to it. With AI, even if you have 30% savings and if you want more on-site presence, companies will prefer locals. So you got to have local presence as well, because with 30% reduction, the savings with offshore is probably getting thinner, right? And using AI will definitely help you get to market faster. And so on-site is probably going to be a much better option that companies will be considering. See, today, what is happening is technology is becoming a major business compared to the brick and mortar. So look at restaurants, see how restaurants have adopted technology for ordering online and things like that. Look at Uber, look at all the different businesses. So majority of the businesses, when you call it digital, businesses have turned digital. Every other business have turned digital. Hospitals have turning digital. Teleconsulting or any of those things you think about. So with AI, for example, reading radiology reports is going to be more based out of technology than in the past. So for NHS, it's a major, I think it's going to be a major boon if they start adopting AI and technologies faster, because the waiting times for doctor support or even reading a radiology report or an ECG report is taking time here in the UK, because coming from India, you know that it can be done in no time in India. Same day you get a report from a radiology lab or anywhere. That's not the case here, right? So the basic point is every business is more technology oriented than it used to be in the past. So investing into technology is definitely the only option. And all those startups who are starting today with AI will be probably much better equipped than the companies who are trying to come out of their legacy. So obviously, the newer generation technologies and AI is definitely an option. It has to be an option. And I would say every sector is going to be technology dependent. So the opportunity is much bigger, much vast, much more vast than it used to be in the past. But you cannot be on with legacy. So I think that's all I would say. Can I start in the new age, another technology company? The simple answer is no, because people are old, So I think you require a lot more innovative, dynamic, younger people who can understand, digest technology, learn pretty quick. The learning cycle is much faster. So I would start, obviously, I would invest into technology, not that I wouldn't invest into, but I would start with much more younger, dynamic people who are very much more agile and more switched on with AI. That's what I would say. Okay, so the classic problem today for the campus hiring, I'm sure you must be aware, for the last 2 or 3 years, last year, I think the big guys have not really recruited anybody. If you look at TCS Infosys, they used to hire in about 50,000 or 30,000 TCS Infosys. That has almost gotten to zero. Okay, and the reason is with AI, you also require some seniority for digesting the whole AI process and then utilizing that into projects. So they were seeing more of middle management required to adopt, because especially with the reduction of staff seen, they were wanting senior people with experience to leverage AI and then put them into projects. So that's why they decided to stop hiring, younger resources or engineers. We did not stop that. Last year also we hired about close to 300 engineers. This year we've given offers, I think, to about 190 odd. We obviously came down with the numbers, but because we were seeing that they were the ones who can learn faster. So if young engineers could understand the domain, the business side of things, and also AI, and get into companies through maybe the internship route or whatever, because we have interns who come and work with us for, let's say, 3 months to 6 months. And we always find that youngsters are definitely, they bring in a lot more energy, they bring in a lot more learning potential, and they're the ones who actually do a lot better once they get into the projects, let's say, a couple of years down the line. So if they can learn AI, obviously, and with AI and core technology background, also learn the domain, like if it's a financial service or healthcare, they should understand the business side of it. I think there's no way companies will stop hiring. Probably will get started. The hiring process will get started again pretty soon, is what I think. And we obviously are continuing to, with lesser numbers, we still need to wait and see how the market is behaving in terms of winning projects, which with the geopolitics, I think rather than AI, the geopolitics is creating more problem with the inflation, the oil prices, and so on. I think you can't really be done away with youngsters joining. So if they kind of focus on these few things, I think they will come back into the technology, because technology is the only option going forward. Technology business will keep growing. Yeah, I mean, competition is definitely what gives us energy to do better, right? So if you look at some of the major wins that we've had, we have beaten the big guys. There are projects that we have taken over from the big guys. So there's a construction company in the US. They're about 6 billion. They do major projects. They're building the biggest hydrogen plant on earth. So that company had a major product development project. So it was a product development project. And they had one of the big three as their vendor for about a couple of years, and they failed with it, and they redid the tender, and then from 10 to 6 to 3 to 2 and 1, we won the project. And from then they displaced another major international vendor, and again we got the project. So this is not something that has been a one-off thing. There are at least, there's a big mining company in Australia where again they had somebody from Eastern Europe was their vendor, couldn't do products. So the product engineering work is a little different than typical IT service. And the moment they recognize that, we are in, So that competition, if it is the right space, especially product engineering, rebuilding old technology products to new, or building new concepts into products is our game. So competition, we are always able to beat, even if they are too big, we are able to beat them because of the differentiator that we are in. So I would say that has been so far so good, and we hope we can continue that, because we try to bring in the ROI element into it. So when a customer comes in, so if you look at a typical bid, what happens is they talk about the functionality, the architecture, the quality of skills, the cost, everything. But what generally companies wouldn't do is the ROI, return on investment for a product. So if you are selling a product, how are we able to conceive the ROI differently than a typical IT vendor who will talk everything else except the ROI? The business case. Why would a company go and build a product? Because there is a business case that with product you can scale. Like for example, the National Highways project that we've done here for TRL, they have done repeat sales with the same product in other European markets, other counties. So that ROI perception has to be different, or has to be there for any product vendor. And I think that is helping us win a lot more than a typical services game. Yeah, UK is the second biggest market after US, right? I mean, if you look at various markets, if you consider UK, US, UK, Germany, Australia, all these markets, even Japan, The IT investments, technology investments happen in the UK next to the US. So US definitely is a market that we have to kind of remain focused, but the sales cycles are longer. I think the relationship, I mean, UK obviously is a lot more on relationship compared to the US. So I think build relationships, give confidence to customers, remain invested. And I think you've got to be absolutely honest and very transparent with the customers. You can definitely win. And UK, though slower than US, is definitely the second best option that one has. And again, it helps in terms of de-risking your business in the US, right? I mean, we came in and set up the business, though we had customers from 2009, 10 onwards. We set up our office only in 2018 when we felt that UK is a market that we cannot ignore, and to de-risk is that was that decision. And building practice, again, the business practices of healthcare. Healthcare is definitely a good market. Healthcare, pharma, life sciences, again, a good market in the UK. So pick your focus areas right and build relationships and stay long term. I think UK definitely is a great long term market. The biggest customer that Experion has, the longest customer that we have is in the UK. So you can imagine 15 years. So TRL has been there with us for the last 15 years.